evening and welcome to iBankerU News tonight. Oh, what a day. It's Thursday, January 29th, 2026. If you've been following us, you know that we are big fans of silver for many reasons. We couldn't help but noticing that silver, priced between $115 and $120 an ounce for most of the past 24 hours starting the day, was brutally Baby Seal Club down from nearly $122 high at about 10 a.m. this morning to $107. It got us to thinking. Have you ever noticed that silver never behaves the way simple economics would suggest? I mean, really, it's the metal that powers the future. Solar panels, EV batteries, AI data centers, medical technology. And yet, for decades, silver has largely wandered, rudderless on a near endless sideways journey. Rallies get sold into, breakouts fail. And every time somebody asks, why doesn't silver do what it's supposed to? The official answer is the usual. Markets are efficient. Supply and demand are balanced. Nothing to see here. Right. And I suppose inflation is temporary too. Here's the problem. Silver's global price is not set in the mines of Mexico. It's not set in the factories of Shanghai. It is set in financial market venues. COMEX in New York, LBMA in London, and in over-the-counter forward contracts dominated by a handful of global bullion banks. And who are these banks? Well, they're names you've heard. JPM, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, and their friends. And they're not running around with wheelbarrows of silver, no! They're running massive paper short positions, delta hedge swaps, options books, leveraged futures, all instruments designed to manage risk and, conveniently, keep silver tame. Volatility? That's bad for business. Stability? That's great for profits. A runaway silver price? Well, that would ruin a risk manager's day. And now, let's layer in recent developments that nobody on CNBC, Fox Business, the Wall Street Journal, or really anywhere else seem to be talking about. China, which controls roughly 65% and maybe more of the world's refined silver supply, has imposed strict export controls. Only state-approved firms can ship the metal abroad. That's not just bureaucracy, that's effectively putting a clamp on the world's largest silver tap. So, what happens if silver actually decides to do its job? To break out! Let's examine. The first thing that would happen is paper markets would react violently. Short positions held by JP Morgan, HSBC, Deutsche, and the rest would start hemorrhaging money. Delta hedged options bleed, margin calls hit. Dealers are forced to buy into strength, creating a short squeeze. That's the kind of move that gives traders nightmares and portfolio risk managers panic attacks. And we're just getting started. Step 2. Physical pressure hits. ETFs like SLV and leveraged funds like AGQ see massive redemption requests. Vaults in COMEX and LBMA drain. Lease rates spike. Backwardation appears. Near-term contracts are suddenly worth more than distant ones, signaling real physical scarcity. Step 3. We're only halfway there. Leveraged ETFs get crushed. AGQ resets daily, suffers volatility decay, and retail traders thinking double exposure means double the fun quickly learn path dependency is not their friend. Margin calls hit. Liquidations cascade. Panic ensues in a perfectly predictable way. Step 4. Systemic risk emerges. Banks with massive paper shorts face capital stress. Delivery demands spike. And because China is limiting exports, the supply that once cushioned COMEX and LBMA is now gone. Not missing, gone. Which means the plumbing that's contained silver for decades is under real pressure. Now let's talk about recent signals. Margin requirements at COMEX have been raised multiple times just in the last few months. Each hike is sold as risk management. And maybe it is for JP Morgan's balance sheet. But for everybody else, it forces liquidation, spikes volatility, and exposes cracks in the system. Meanwhile, physical inventories are tightening. These rates are climbing. Backwardation persists. And the tug of war between paper suppression and real-world scarcity is growing increasingly obvious by the day, even to the retail normies. All of this tells us the same story. The mechanisms that kept silver contained for decades, massive paper shorts, margin rules, derivatives dominance, are under tremendous strain. Every forced liquidation, every technical shakeout, every tiny margin hike is just delaying the inevitable. Physical demand is real, supply is limited, and China isn't increasing exports anytime soon. So maybe, silver stays tame. For now, maybe JP Morgan and HSBC managed to push it sideways just a little longer. But the more they push, the more physical scarcity pushes back. And when those two forces finally meet, when paper can no longer contain metal, silver doesn't just move, it dislocates. It spikes. It punishes the complacent. And the system that spent decades managing volatility, well, it struggles to keep up. And here's the thing that really makes you wonder. All this engineered calm, all these margin hikes, all these carefully timed derivatives trades, and yet CNBC, Fox Business, and the Wall Street Journal, none of them really are reporting this. Why do you think that is? With physical scarcity rising, lease rates climbing, backwardation widening, and China controlling the majority of the world's refined silver, how much longer can JP Morgan, HSBC, Deutsche, COMEX, and the LBMA actually keep silver in a cage before the metal decides to break out anyway? Because when it does, you can bet it won't be subtle, it won't be polite. And the system that spent decades managing volatility, it might just get its first real lesson in what happens when reality refuses to be papered over. And I ask you, are we really ready for that? Or will we just sit here pretending nothing is happening while metal quietly prepares to remind the world that you can suppress something, that you cannot suppress something that people actually need, and forever? Well, thank you for watching all the way to the end. We'll be back tomorrow night with part 2. The stuff hit at the fan, how to prepare for the coming world with $3,000 per ounce silver. In the meantime, take care of yourself and each other. Build that stack!